first con ever.
First con ever.
So what are you going to geek out about?
Well, first of all, it's always hard to follow Corey Kittles, so it's challenging in and of itself. No, it's amazing to take in the scene and realize how many fans are. When you're working in television, you're often working in kind of this bubble because, other than your friends and family, you have no sense of what the audience is. It just kind of gets beamed out in the ether, and then it's great to, now that there are more. Traditionally, when you're just reading in newspapers, you just get a review and that was it. Now with the blog, it's just more fan interaction. But coming down here and actually meeting people who've seen the show it's actually really energizing.
This is a huge world, potentially. I mean, the show has narrowed it down to pretty much just the Bowmans and the satellites around them. Has there been any talk of doing graphic novels around the show? I know that the other shows have done that, other ideas.
Yes, Legendary's into that. They obviously have a graphic novel division.
Right.
So they're, as you say, the graphic novel would also give you an opportunity to expand the world and show things we can't ever possibly show because of the limitations of the budget of the show. So you could go hop around the world and see different hops in a colony. So yeah, they're into that.
I think that would be a fascinating
Absolutely.
addition.
And there's been talk of potentially doing other foreign language colonies. Why not? I mean, this was a worldwide occupation. You could drop into one somewhere else. So.
So Ryan was talking about the fact that you guys are moving to Vancouver for next season, and we're expanding kind of the Bowman universe a little bit. Can you talk to us a little bit about that? Like what we're going to see in season 3? Do we start with the Bowmans? Are you allowed to say? And can you talk a little bit about that, like where they are?
Yeah, we start with the Bowmans. I mean, they're the core of the show. We like to say that it's kind of a relationship drama with a sci-fi guy, so you're going to follow it's everything from their perspective. Going outside the wall at the top of the season, I think is a huge opportunity. No one really knows what is out there. We've had these little pops with Bram or when we went out to the camp, but see broadly what happened and what happened to people who lived out there will be interesting. And then there's an opportunity to go to a new colony. And would that colony be run like the Los Angeles colony was? When we went to Santa Monica, it was obviously run dramatically differently. So there's another opportunity to build a whole new world and hopefully hit the themes and metaphors of the show directly.
That sounds great. I'm also wondering, when do you guys decide we need kind of to get like an on-screen kind of peek at the occupiers? Like, how do you guys? Is it just like it's like whatever it makes sense for the story you're going to show us, or because some of the special effects are so amazing, so it's really kind of a special treat when we see that. So when do you guys decide? Okay, now we've got to see something.
Well, in a television show, you have a certain number of bullets to use in special effects, so you want it to be at moments of maximum impact. If you want to do it well, you can't do it all the time. We're not Westworld, we can't just have 600 VFX shots. So it's when does the story demand it, and then what is the coolest way to reveal it? And I actually prefer it because you have to be more conscientious about how you're going to use it and how you're going to reveal these things. And as I'm sure Ryan said to you, we have the top of this third season really puts a lot of things just right on the table. The intent was never to play hide the ball with all these stories. We have them, and we think that we're at a point where the Bowmans can now learn them because they have the opportunity to go beyond the wall, which is one world, opportunity to go to another colony, which potentially can tell us more about the world. So a lot's going to come out, and as you say, it's how do we maximize our opportunities to do it well.
Okay.
Brad's at a really interesting place of what becoming a man. He's had to do some pretty awful things, and he's experienced some pretty awful things. Can you talk a little bit about what, if I can say too much, but kind of what direction his character's going to go? Is he going to kind of stay more of a good guy? Is he going to affect the negative way?
It was kind of a hanging Chad from last season because he has this very dramatic episode built around him in 11, and he goes home and he lies about what he did, and then he's just trying to cram it down. And if there's one thing we know about adolescent boys, they probably aren't going to cram it down successfully for that long. But also, his world is going to change. So, it's one of those things where if you stayed in the LA block, it would probably pop out more quickly. But what we can do with changing his setting is maybe it simmers in the background, and then you just see little hints of it. I mean, Alex is a wonderful young actor, and he's got a lot of range. So I think, figuring out ways where, without being on the nose, you can show exactly how much damage this kid has suffered. And ultimately, Gracie's at that age where the occupation were to end tomorrow, she probably wouldn't be that affected. She'd be affected. She lost people, but like it wouldn't have changed her worldview. Graham is in that critical point where he will never be the same. So it's just like, what pieces can he put together and reassemble of himself moving forward? And he's at that moment where you're becoming an adult. And part of our goal this season is for his parents to treat him as an adult and ask him to take on more responsibilities, and then see, can he handle it, or is the weight of the past going to ultimately crack him?
What's been the hardest scene to write? Not from a technical standpoint, if we had the one shot earlier or at the end of season 2, but from trying to figure out like the emotions of the people involved and how to structure all of that.
I mean, there are two scenes that immediately popped to mind. Season 1, the final emotional confrontation between Will and Katie, where all the secrets come out in the backyard. That was really fun to write because it was going to come eventually to catharsis, and they could say all the things that they had never said. But because it had been building so much, you didn't want to blow it. You wanted to make sure that they're such talented actors. You want to make sure that you're serving them and giving them great material to work with. The hardest scene, and I had nothing to do with it, last season was the 13th episode when they get to the wall and they have that human moment. And it's one of those things that if you didn't write that scene properly, it would feel really cheap because they just kind of talk their way out to the wall. But in concept, it felt so great that ultimately this is a human story and it's about human beings making decisions. And Ryan and then Lee came in and helped him a little bit with that scene. They found a way to balance it, and the acting performance we got out of that guy Jason, who came in for just that one day, and he did such an amazing job as that Red Hat. It's really powerful.
There's a huge push to bring him back.
I know.